you do not have a sense of purpose and a sense of vision behind what you are doing in life, you will literally fall for the temptations of anything. I am so dedicated to going to the gym every single morning, and I meet with a trainer twice a week, that I do not drink. I'm 11 months sober right now.
Yeah.
And like, why would I go get drunk and hammered and then wake up hammered and go hungover to work out with my guy the next day? What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the #1 podcast in the world. Today, we will be talking about fitness and how it impacts every other area of your life. You want to take a jump off of this one?
Yeah, so those areas include, your emotional health, probably just your work ethic in general. Think of all of the things that you're trying to do, whether it's, business, your relationships with your loved ones, your family, your friends, fitness, or I should say a fit lifestyle can help with all of those things. And there's a lot of reasons with that. So I think the first one is just around, let's just call it living like a regimened life. Like you have this thing that you're dedicated to yourself, right? And it's for yourself, right? You're doing it for yourself. You're taking time out of your day, and you're not really working for anybody else, right? You're going and you're just putting work in on your body. You're fatiguing yourself. You're pushing your limits, and you're doing that, hopefully, if you're living a fit lifestyle, you're doing that, let's just say 3 to 4 days a week. Part of putting work into yourself, I believe, and I spend a lot of time meditating in general. I meditate during my workouts a lot of time, or especially I'm also like a break dancer, right? So I meditate between doing what we call sets, which are just like combinations of moves. But it really forces you to think about your capabilities. One of the things, we'll set up a story really quick, right? Imagine you're bench pressing, and let's say your old bench max is 200 pounds, and you want to push to 210 pounds. Very simple scenario. Part of changing your max, though, is you're literally doing something you've never done before. You're pushing up more weight than your body has ever pushed up before. And there's a lot of, of a framework, this complexity that goes into breaking any of your limits, even if it's just pushing. If you're someone who's been lifting for a long time, this, you can create a lot of like an identity around, I'm somebody who benches XXY or whatever it is, right? I bench 200 pounds. It might be an identity statement for you. I can run this fast. I can jump this high. And because you say that out loud about yourself, you actually create these limitations. You might be able to, jump higher, run faster, or bench more than 200 pounds, but because you've created this identity statement for yourself, this limitation that you have to break through by lifting constantly and working out, you learn to kind of respect limits for what they are as kind of just a current measurement, right? And not truly a limitation, right? Just true. Because you benched 200 pounds on, May 17th of this year, if it's 6 months later, that doesn't mean that you still have that limitation. I think it's just a measurement from a point in time instead of some life-defining moment. And that's one thing that kind of cracks, the nut of like thinking about life as this boundless, journey that we're on. And that just goes into every other aspect of your life.
Oh, that's true. And to touch base on that, I think there's two ways that I've gone through my journey of working out. So for me, it was a bit different because, just like you, actually, I experienced terrible injuries in my journey of working out. Terrible, to the point where I actually suffer from I'm recovered from 5 herniated discs in my back. Because I used to compete in CrossFit. And I loved CrossFit. I was obsessed with CrossFit. And every day I knew what my my max was. I knew how I was pushing it. We calculated percentages, numbers, what I was supposed to hit that day, how many I was supposed to do. And everything was calculated for this goal down the road, which was meant to be hit so that I could enter the competition. Yeah. So everything was calculated every day. My macros, what I was eating, how much I was drinking, the supplements I was taking. everything was just so narrowed down. And, you know, to live that life where it's just like I know that every morning I'm going to the gym at 6 a.m. I'm doing the, you know, the workout of the day, the WOD for an hour with the group. Then I'm going to go to work. I'm going to come back at 6 p.m. and I'm going to do my Olympic lifting training with my trainer, right? So I knew that this was my journey. It was every single day. I knew that on the weekends I was getting a massage. I was hitting physical therapy. I was doing all these things. But when the injury occurred, I almost lost this entire sense of self. Yeah. Like I just stopped working out and I couldn't do anything. I could barely walk. And, you know, we're talking about surgery. We're talking about all these different things. You remember I used to come to your place and I was always complaining, like my back, I couldn't even sleep on the couch.
Yeah, this man's back was,
you know, it was really bad. So I had sciatic nerve damage, all these things. And I can go into a whole episode on recovering from that injury and what that took, right? But at the end of the day, you know,
we can talk about it now. We can talk a little bit about it. Okay. I've had tons of injuries too. So I know that.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of stories on the injury piece. But, you know, to go back to your, like, you create this identity around yourself, you know, conversely, what is the identity that you create about yourself when you do not work out? When you are someone that does not have those goals, that does not have those calculations and those things, and you don't have to be like that dead on. Like I work out now and I don't even write my workouts down. I just go in and I do my thing, right? You know, I don't set PRs. I don't set all these different things that, you know, I probably will implement after this episode because it's gotten me thinking. But, you know, you're either a person who doesn't work out at all. You're a person who kind of half-ass does it, right? Or you're a person that's like pretty regular about it, or someone who is all committed. And you
consider yourself a fit person though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why you're able to, even though, and I'm the same way, right? I have a personal trainer right now, but for years, I would say I'm a fit person because that's my identity. Like I work out. Fit people work out. That's what they do.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna work out. Like it's weird for me to go multiple days without working out because I cannot go one day. That's not what fit people do. You know, like
if I go one day without working, so here's going back to the point that I was making. If you don't work out at all, right? Yeah. And you go one day, like you're sore as hell for like a week.
Right.
And you may not even feel accomplished because you're like, that was terrible. Like, I don't even want to do that again, you know? Right. But on the other side, if I cannot go a single day without working out, I don't take rest days. You know, even on my rest day, I'm going to the gym and I'm doing something active because I have to. If I don't do it in the morning, I feel terrible all day long.
Yeah.
I have brain fog. I feel tired. Like, I'm just not on. So I have to work out. It's part of my regimen. And how that translates into the rest of my life is that's something that I do consistently every single day. What other things do you do consistently every single day? And what lessons can you learn from your dynamics around like your gym lifestyle or that identity that you've placed around yourself as being a fit individual? You know, like now, if I don't work out and I'm not so in tune with my fitness, I'm probably going to get hammered every weekend and I'm probably going to eat shit food and I'm going to feel bad about myself. And that translates into the way that you approach women. That translates into the way that you approach people in business. If you feel like shit and you look like shit, you're less likely to, you know, make positive interactions with other people because you lack that self-esteem and that confidence.
Right.
You know, whereas if you're on your shit, you work out all the time, you're eating healthy, you're practicing healthy lifestyle, you know, you can drink every once in a while, you can eat bad every once in a while, but you know that like that's not your life.
Right.
You know, and so I think you just approach people and you approach situations, you approach things with this dominant success mindset where you just feel good about yourself, your self-esteem and your confidence it's at a different level.
Right. You've almost created this purpose statement for you because that's part of your identity. You're willing to make these trade-offs without, you know, really caving into the pressure of your peers.
Exactly.
Which is really easy to do when you don't have a purpose, right? You kind of blow in the wind. You get excited about whatever. People are like, yo, we're going to go, you know, 15 people are going to this party, and because you don't have a purpose, now that seems like the thing you have to do. It's like, well, I got to go to this party versus just like, oh no, you know, I got to work out the next day, and I know what it's like to party before workout, and I don't want to do that, you know. And part of that is getting older and all that, but you are willing to kind of, well, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sacrifice.
Yeah, make sacrifices. Yeah. For a greater purpose. Now, I'm not saying that all fit people are like amazing people, but I will tell you this, that I respect, or I have a amount of respect for people who are into fitness at least, because it tells me one single thing about them, is that they are committed to something. Now, I don't know why they're committed to it, right? And like I said, not all fit people are amazing people, but most of them are. I mean, most of the people at my gym are great people. We all have this common struggle in trying to get stronger.
And become the best version.
Yeah, become the best physical version of yourself. And it's impossible for that not to bleed over. And let's do like another example. Think about this. Think you're in a tough situation. You need somebody to help you, right? And you've got two options. Option A is a friend who kind of doesn't really do anything, right? They're not aspiring for anything. And, you know, typically they say they're going to do something, they don't do it. You know, they work out a few times, they stop working out, whatever. And you got friend B, who is like always working out, always fit, always, you know, at the gym every single morning. And you're like, all right, who am I going to call? Am I going to call the person that I know, you know, sticks to this workout, you know, all the time? Or I'm going to call the person that, you know, doesn't have a purpose, you know, or any type of purpose in their life, right? And you're probably going to call the person that has some sense of purpose because you know that they will show up they're just more likely to show up, right?
Probably more accountable.
Yeah, they're more accountable because they're accountable to something, right? So people who are accountable to something are more accountable in general, right? That's just the way that it is. And fitness is one way that you can be accountable and create this positive identity statement where you're going to, you know, you're really showing up for yourself. I think which is the most important thing is by being a fit person, you're showing up for yourself. And I think part of showing up for others is you first got to show up for yourself. If you don't have a self-worth, like you said, like Absolutely. You build this self-worth around yourself, and your physical appearance, while it's not necessarily about being beautiful, that's a nice side effect. It can be, of fitness is you are trying to maintain this presence in the world of how you want to be seen, and how you want people to, you know, kind of experience your being in working out. You have this level of control over that, and there's very few things we can control in life. You create this self-worth, and that bleeds over. It's the reason why, you know, we find one of the reasons. I'm not a psychologist, but we generally find more fit people, more attractive, right? There's a lot of reasons for that, biological or otherwise, but it's just like, you know, it's like, wow, if that dude is jacked, right? Like, I know there's no shortcuts to getting jacked. Well, you know, you can take some drugs, but even then, you're still like, you
still got to put the work.
You got to put the work in.
No.
You're putting hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work in. There's no way to cheat it. You just can't. And there's very few things in life where you can, you know, very clearly kind of garner that self-worth and general respect from other people. There's another point in there I was trying to make. I forgot what it was. But yeah, I think self-worth, if that's something that you struggle with, if you've been thinking about, and I kind of want to talk about like the reasons like people don't work out or what I've heard. I've been training for a long time but if you struggle with like reasons to work out, I think it has to be about that improvement, continuous improvement. It can't be about like negative reasons. It can't be like, oh, I don't want to be fat, which might be fine. I think that's fine, but I think when you only have negative reasons to do something instead of positive reasons, it's hard to stick with, right? If you're just trying to not be fat, and it's like, well, there's a lot of ways you can not be fat. You know, you can go get surgery, you can get liposuction, you could, but it's not the same as being a fit person who's, you know, putting this positive energy into your body, you know?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to, you know, you just gave an example, right?
Sure.
The person that's accountable and the person that's not accountable, right?
Yeah.
So I'll touch on that first, and then I want to go back to what you just mentioned, you know, about kind of like not just having that negative reinforcement.
Sure.
So first off, you know, I don't want to sound vain in the fact that I would call the guy that works out over the guy that doesn't, right? Because that might not always be the case.
Sure.
However, in this circumstance, you know, I think that it is a viable, you know, and reasonable decision to make, because of one. I'll give you one example of how that has played out in my life. So I have one of my agents, you know, the reason why he said that he already worked with a lender. He worked with somebody he's been working with for years. He said that the reason, and he didn't want to be vain either, but he said the reason why he decided to call me and work with me is because he saw on my Instagram how dedicated I was to not only working 24/7, because I always post about work. If you follow me on Instagram, you see on my stories, I work all the time.
Drew's the move.
Drew's the move on Instagram. But I also work out every single day, and it's part of my lifestyle. And, that was something that he said that he respected, because he said, I bust my ass. I work all the time, but I never make time to go to the gym. And he said, I respect the fact that you not only do that, but you meal prep. I see your posts where you're meal prepping, and you're always spending time with, I was with someone at the time, you're always spending time with her.
Yeah.
So he was like, how the hell does this individual have so much determination, dedication to work out every day, be incredibly fit, because I'm in fantastic shape right now, in my opinion. So,
check him out. Drew's the move.
So you work out every day, you work all day long, you meal prep, you eat healthy, you're not eating like shit every day, and you're spending time with your loved one.
Yeah.
And so he said, for me, that well-roundedness, that holistic approach to your life where you are trying to win in every single area of your life made me want to work with you over working with the other guy, because the other guy just works 24/7. He's out of shape and he has a terrible relationship at home. Yeah. And he said, and I don't want to judge that individual, but I just want to show you how much I value seeing that in a person. And I want to work with someone like that because I aspire to be that way. Yeah. And for me, that was huge. I said, wow, like that's so, not only is that incredible to hear that someone feels that way about you, but the fact that you are almost inspiring someone else, and that's why they want to work with you.
Yeah.
So to touch on your example from a different, perspective, it's that it's not just that you're choosing to work with that other person or to call that other person because they go to the gym and they're not like unpurposed in their life, but because of the fact that you may aspire to be like that person. And because of that, you're more willing to call them, and you're more willing to lean on them, and you're more willing to want to surround yourself with them. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a huge point. To go back to the second one, which was, not having just all negative reinforcement. This goes heavily into having a vision for your life, having a vision for yourself from a physical standpoint, from a mental, emotional, spiritual standpoint, a financial standpoint, whatever the case is. If you do not have a vision for your life and where you want to be in every single aspect, then you will fall for anything. Yeah. And we've talked about some of these books that have discussed this topic in the past. But one of them, which I've literally mentioned a dozen times, has been Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, where he touches, and I talk about this book all the time because of how transformational this one point was, which is if you do not have a sense of purpose and a sense of vision behind what you are doing in life, you will literally fall for the temptations of anything. I am so dedicated to going to the gym, and every single morning, and I meet with a trainer twice a week, that I do not drink. I'm 11 months sober right now.
Yeah.
Why would I go get drunk and hammered and then wake up hammered and go hungover to work out with my guy the next day? Right. I'm wasting my time and money. I pay this guy a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's money that I'm investing into my time. It's money that I'm investing into my own resources and hard work into achieving, because I've got a goal. I've got a vision of where I want my body to be. I've got a vision of where I want my finances to be. How am I going to be able to be here with you speaking right now if I'm like so blatantly hungover? And I know that, you've been able to pull, I respect you because you are able to do that. If like that one day,
oh yeah,
bro,
and then if you hungover,
this guy did a hungover podcast and it was so good that you would not even be able to tell.
But you know why though?
And I respect that because I'm like, your purpose is so much greater than what you're going through that you could pull yourself out of whatever situation that you're in and you can make it happen, right?
You got to have that purpose though.
But that goes back to the vision. If your vision is that strong for what you want to achieve, you will make certain sacrifices. And yours was not the sacrifice of I'm not going to go out, which is what mine would have been. Yours was, even though I went out, I'm making the sacrifice to push away my feelings of how I feel right now to make this fucking happen.
Right.
And that's huge. And if you have that purpose behind your vision, if you have that will, that desire in order to achieve something and to become something, it's not about, oh, I just don't want to be fat. It's that I'm trying to be shredded and I'm trying to look like the Hulk and I'm trying to walk around and like not be afraid that if I get something on my shirt, like I want to take my shirt off. You know what I mean? Right. I was in a position yesterday, we got stuck in the rain and I'm like, well, I mean, I got to take my shirt off,
Got to do it, man.
I got to do it.
Unfortunately.
And then.
Got to take these abs out.
Yeah, right? And so, and the people that I with, they were like, bro, you just wanted an excuse to take your shirt off. And I was like,
Facts.
But I feel good about it. So if you walk into positions or situations with that confidence of knowing like, yo, I look good and I feel good. It's just you approach life in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm able to actually get business that way because I feel confident about myself and I walk into situations with a different light.
Yeah, and I hope y'all are seeing there's so many layers to this, like the confidence, the identity statement, the ability to, get hammered like I did that one weekend and come back. And I don't drink that much, but I do go out. I still do go out. I'm not sober like Andrew is. But when you have a purpose, when there's something that you have to do, and it'd be very easy, by the way, for me to just not do a lot of the stuff that I do. I can just be like, oh, I'm tired. Or, oh, I did a workout. I did leg day, so I don't want to do X, Y, or Z. And most people will be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And that's how a lot of people live their lives. When you don't have purpose, it's really easy for you to be like, oh, well, I had a hard day today, and I just don't want to work out. And everyone around you go, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or you could be a fit person and be like, oh, I had a hard day today. I'm going to go work out. And that's all it is. And I've spoken with so many people, and I've had my own personal evolution where I've heard every excuse in the book, guys. I've heard every single one. If you tell me some reason why you can't do something, I'll say, okay, I will. But I'm going to tell you right now here, honestly, that not from a negative space, but like I already know kind of what that means for where you're at in your life. And you just have not decided to make that evolution to being someone who doesn't let, small stuff stop you. A lot of people are looking for an excuse. They're just looking for an excuse not to do something. They're just looking. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym. Well, only got 6 hours of sleep. Who cares? I went to the gym on 3 hours of sleep. The workout wasn't amazing, but I got it in. It felt so good to get it in. Then the next week, I make sure I get 8 hours. Continuous improvement is what it's about. It's all about that continuous improvement. It's all about creating that identity, becoming a person that people can look at and say, yo, that's a hardworking person. Just like the story you just told, it's like they know you're hardworking because you're doing something versus somebody who isn't. People who have not worked hard at something are not people who are going to step up to work hard at this new thing.
Exactly.
They're the first person who crumbles. The person who always has an excuse, they're going to be the first one to have an excuse when, the shit hits the fan.
Absolutely.
And so the reason why this bleeds over, even though it's something so simple as just working out and fitness, is it really isn't simple. It's having this purpose. It's creating an identity. And it also goes into this other idea that I personally have, a personal belief in that, there's so few things we can control in life, right? We can't control who our parents are. We can't control what continent we're born on. We can't control the wealth that we're given at birth. We can't control what we look like, which I think I said that twice. But you could control, what you do when you're awake.
Yeah.
You can.
Well, you can't control any of those
smarter.
things, but you can control what you do with them.
Right. Like you could be the most, God-given born athlete, and you could be on the other side of the spectrum. But I guarantee you by 30, none of that's going to matter. Only thing that's going to matter by the time you're our age is, did you stay fit? Do you read books? Do you, have this education? There's going to be an inflection point in your life where you literally are going to become the things that you do and not the things that you were born with. I guarantee it, guys. Like, I know what the average age of our viewers is, probably around our age. But, I firmly believe that most people end up right around, where they should be after a given amount of time. We're all kind of dealt a different hand. You got to play those cards right. And you got to work to get a new hand, right? We're all dealt a different hand, but you can get new cards in life. And you do that by putting in work. I can tell you, even my time as an athlete, I was beating guys who were faster than me in high school, faster than me when we were younger, because I just outworked them. There's a million people have talked about, just working hard. All the greats talk about it. I can tell you I've lived it. Tons of people lived it. The people who are the best that get it done are the people who put in the work and that show up at the end of the day, and it'll all equal out. So start with your fitness. It also just feels good.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you can attest to this. You have a bad day, go to the gym. Like it's really hard to be mad about whatever when you're trying to push something real heavy. Your brain can do one thing at a time, and it's gonna focus on not dropping that weight on your toes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think not only from the aspect that you just discussed, but to dive even deeper into the actual day-to-day workout. Mm-hmm. Why are you so focused on not dropping that weight instead of on your problems?
Right.
So when you're in a workout, whether it's CrossFit, it's HIIT cardio, you're in a group class, you're on your own, you can have, just like life, you can have terrible workouts and you can have fantastic workouts. You can have great days, you can have bad days, you know, and what differentiates a great day from a bad day? Is it the way that you woke up that morning? Is it certain things that happened to you that were outside of your control? You know, but at the end of the day, it's how did you handle those things? So, you know, for instance, I went to the gym and like I felt like my day was getting started bad. Like I just wasn't in a good mood. And sometimes you have those days where you just wake up and you're like, I'm not in a good mood.
Yeah.
But I know that when I get to the gym, I can either not go to the gym and I'm going to spend the entire day in a shit mood. Right. And that's going to affect every single decision that I make. It's going to affect my business. It's going to affect how my clients hear my voice come out. That's going to affect, you know, all types of various things that happen. I could hit every single red light on the way to the office, whatever the case is, right? You wake up in a bad mood. If you don't shift that perspective, shift the angle, you're going to stay in a bad mood 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I go to the gym and I'm just expecting I'm going to have a shitty workout. But I made the decision as soon as I got there. I was like, okay, I took out my little notebook and I was like, all right, I'm going to hit, and I wrote out my workout so that I had a mission when I got to the gym.
Yeah.
And it was chest day. And I said, all right, I'm going to hit incline, flat, flies. You know, I'm going to do tricep extensions. I'm going to do all these different, and I wrote out the whole workout, and I'm going to end out with like a killer ab day.
Yeah.
And so I did not want to do it at all. And I was not in the mood to do it at all. And so I get under the bench and I'm doing my warm up and I'm just like not in the mood. And so I said, you know what? Forget that. I'm going to try to hit my 1MR today. I'm going to hit my max on bench. Yeah. And so I pull one of the managers over from the gym and I'm like, dude, can you spot me? Like I'm trying to hit this max. And I said, I'm going to go for 2. And so he spots me and he's like, nah, bro. He said, go for 6. And I was like, for real? And I was like, you're going to be there, right? And he said, yeah, but go for 6. And so I'm on the 6th one. Mind you, I tried to hit 2. On the 6th one, he's like, keep going. And he's pushing me. Yeah. And I'm like, and I push and I get 8. So initially I went into this workout thinking I'm only going to get hit 2. And I ended up hitting 8 because I had some, and the rest of the workout was phenomenal. The guy didn't help me the rest of the time because, you know, he had a client or whatever. But, dude, I pushed the rest of the workout and I left the gym feeling fantastic.
You literally will forget why you were mad.
I was in a great mood the rest of the day. I'm like, bro, I just accomplished something. Like, I didn't think that I had it in me and I accomplished it. And so I think that that's the important part about not only showing up, right? Because we've already talked about on other podcasts the power of showing up, but the power of giving it your all and making that internal decision in your mind to say, you know what, I'm not just going to hit 2, I'm going to hit 8. And sometimes you can't do that on your own. Sometimes you need that external party to say, like, to speak life into you. Yeah. When you don't feel good and you feel like, you know, you're having a shit day or things are just not going right, that is the importance of the quality of individuals that you surround yourself by.
100%.
If I didn't ask the manager, if I had asked the, you know, I don't want to be rude, but the schlub in the side that's like doing 10-pound, you know, whatever, and he's on his phone the whole time, I would have had a completely different experience. Right. But I went to the guy that runs the place and I asked him to spot me.
Yeah.
You know, instead of the guy in the corner that's on his phone texting on the leg machine.
And he knew.
And so he came over and he hyped me up and he got me to where I wanted to be. And even further, I surpassed what my goal was. So that's the importance of surrounding yourself with individuals that are where you want to be or have the motivation to be at another level and that will help push you there. If you're having a bad day and you call somebody and they're having a shit day too, and they're in life the equivalent of the guy on the phone on the leg machine that's not working out and he's overweight, they're going to tell you all of their problems. But if you call the guy that's winning in life and he's pushing and he's the one that works out and has that holistic view that we just spoke about and he's winning, he's going to say, bro, you've got this, man. Like, push through it. Like, you just got out of a bad relationship. Like, bro, you're going to find someone else. You're going to become the best version of yourself in this moment in time. You just got into a car accident. It's okay, man. Like, it's just a car. You've got something better waiting for you. Right. You know, it's going to be taken care of. Don't let it ruin your day. You've got someone to push you. And that's the importance. I'm telling you, I can't stress it enough. Hanging around with people. Bro, when I was going through shit, I call you. And you're like, dude, don't sweat that. Like, that's bullshit. You don't need that.
Yeah.
You know,
I do not allow negativity around me, y'all. Like, at all. I don't even like saying negative shit.
There's people that I purposely won't call because, like, negative people like to be around negative people.
Yeah.
Hurt people like to hurt people. They like to surround themselves around people like that. Winners like to be around winners.
Yeah, man.
And there's so many motivational speeches that talk about that and talk about surrounding yourself with people that want to win.
I do that stuff selfishly, actually. Like if someone's being negative around me and like they're kind of looking for that validation, I almost always go like I just try to kill it because that's what I want for people to do for me. So it's a very selfish thing because I know that how my brain works. I'm very suggestible like anybody else is, but I'm like, no, like I'm not going to play into this thing. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that, man. And I love what you said about surrounding yourself with those certain types of people. Another tip, go to a good gym. You'll find really high caliber people there.
Absolutely.
Just kind of, quite frankly, like if it's expensive, a lot of people aren't willing.
It's worth the extra $100 a month.
It's
$200 a month.
It's so worth it. Like,
it's worth it.
What's that gym in New York?
Which one?
Really, really popular one. Oh God, why can't I think of it? But it's like $150, $200 a month. Doesn't matter.
Well, where you go? It's got
I go to Anatomy
right?
here in Miami. No, I think it's $150 a month.
Oh, is it?
And I pay $165 a session with my trainer, something like that. So I'm pouring like literally thousands of dollars.
I do too. I just dropped $1,500 this morning.
Yeah.
For my training for the month.
But it's totally worth it. So some people would look at that as the cost to be in this room and say, oh, well, I could work out anywheres.
It's an investment, man.
It's totally an investment because I'm surrounded by people who are focused on working out. Like everybody in there is focused on working out. They're jacked. It's not even about the jack, but they're all these, whatever the type of training. There's like sprinters that come in there, like people who do all types of stuff. But everybody's just so focused on working out, and it's the vibe, the energy there is so good. Versus I've went into like a 24/7 fitness, like Planet Fitness, and there's people who are just like, going to say that they went, and you're just like, you feel like you're dying. Like you feel like you almost want to yell at people. You're just like, what are you doing here? Like, why would you do this to this place that would allow you to be so good?
That's true.
I view, I'm getting a little crazy here, but like I view like the studios that I dance in, the gyms that I go to almost as like, sanctuaries, spiritual places. Like they're purpose-built spaces.
Yeah.
And I respect those spaces. Everywhere I go, wherever I dance, I always clean the floor, whether I own it or not. It's like I'll clean the floor, I'll tidy it up because it has a purpose for me, and I'm putting my own purpose into it. Same with the gym, racking your weights, stuff like that, keeping it clean, because when I come back again and again and again and again, I want it to be this almost this ritualistic place where it's like, I'm here to do this. It is here for this. And everybody else kind of has that. And when you go to a nice gym, you'll find those high quality people that will push you. And so when you're saying, I wonder if I can do 2 more reps, people aren't saying, don't push yourself, and that, because stuff like that, it makes logical sense, but that's not what you need. What you need is that person's like, yo, do 8.
Let's go.
Do fucking 8.
Dude, I've had, I went to a gym one time and I asked the wrong person to spot me, man. I asked the wrong person. He's like, no, you're going to hurt yourself. And I'm like, bro, where the hell am I?
Right.
Like,
who
I don't
says
want
that?
that negative.
Who says that?
I've been injured in the past. I don't want to think about injury,
Right.
So it's like versus the experience that I just had, which is, bro, you got this. I'm right here for you. I'm right here for you. You got this. Let's go. Push. Breathe through it. And, it's crazy because like there's such a huge impact that surrounding yourself with quality people that have a vision and the experience to get somewhere that you want to be, the impact is tremendous. It's almost unexplainable. And so I think that's huge. Not only the importance of fitness, which is really the whole discussion here, but how it pours over into your everyday life.
Yeah.
If you are someone that wants to be successful in real estate, like this is what we're doing right now, you're going to surround yourself with people who are successful in real estate. I'm not going to go to the guy down the street that's never bought a home. He's been renting his entire life,
right?
Or he's even behind on rent. He's still in this like,
and the first word out of his mouth is, "What happens if the tenants you don't get any tenants?"
It's like negativity. It's like, you don't get hurt, So you're not doing that. You're not doing that. And I feel like if you push yourself and you're someone who likes to push yourself to succeed, you should be around other people who also like to push themselves and will equally push you.
Yeah,
and fitness is just one example of hundreds of how it translates into your everyday experience.
Yeah, but I think the reason we wanted to talk about fitness is we both know how powerful fitness can be and it bleeding over to other parts of your life. And so,
Yeah.
one, if your thing is, well, do I really need to be a fit person? Then you're kind of missing the whole point. Because one, the answer is yes. You need to be in shape. People need to realize their potential. There's so few things in life that are in our control. Your fitness level is in your control. It is. So be fit. It's good for your health. It feels good. It just feels good. Like working out feels good. So like from a selfish thing, like I want you to experience what I experienced, where like you go to the gym and all that negativity just leaves your body. You feel good. We like being around positive people, right? You ever been around someone who's happy and you're like, you were happy? You could be that person. And you could do that by getting your ass in a squat rack and, running a little bit. But it's just so good for you. And two, all of that bleeds over. Once you become that fit person, you have that identity, you start saying, well, I could work out earlier. I could do this. And as part of every other day, well, I work out 4 times a week. What else could I do 4 times a week? What else can I do
Reading,
on a daily,
journaling.
To improve? Yep.
Well, that's something that happened recently. So I recently decided I'm never taking a day off.
From working out or?
Yeah, no, from working out. I
don't.
don't.
Wow.
And obviously like a rest day is still an active rest day. So I'm still not taking the day off. I'm still going to go hit the Stairmaster.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? So I'm not actually taking a day off from the experience of going to this physical location and being there, right?
Yeah.
Being present. So I decided that I'm not going to do that. And I haven't for the last 3 months. Every single day I go, right? So what I decided to also do as that happened was, what am I going to implement into my morning routines? If I'm going to hit the gym every day at 6:30, but I wake up at 5, I've got an hour and a half where, I got a half hour to get my shit together, but then I've got another hour. What am I doing? Because I typically will go maybe fasted, or if it's leg day or whatever, like I'll have a peanut butter sandwich or oatmeal or something, right? Or a protein shake. So what am I going to do with that extra hour? So I've started implementing journaling and like my prayer life, and I'm not pressing my, religious views or whatever on anybody, but I think if you can implement certain things, you're not only doing this gym routine every single day, but you're now putting other things into place, like listening to morning motivation videos, or doing something that's going to propel your personal life and your mental life and your emotional life into another level along with your physical life.
Yeah.
And so that's been so transformative for me, just from a mental, spiritual, emotional standpoint, because I'm not just building my body. I'm interested in building my entire being so I can become the number one version of myself.
Yeah, and just like all things that take hard work, it will automatically pull in those other things, like whether it's journaling or even just scheduling your workouts, meal prepping, right? It takes a lot of organization and thinking ahead. And maybe that's a skill that you don't have in your life, and that could be useful to you. That's something I've been meal prepping has been on my to-do list for like 3 months now, and I haven't done it simply because, one, I really like Grubhub, and two, it's so convenient. But two, I know how much work it's going to take because I've done it before. Yeah. So I've meal prepped before. I know it's going to take. I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna do my best to start doing it. But that kind of shows as well that, like, honestly, like, you don't have to be perfect. But you do have to do something. You have to be committed to something. I'm not perfect. Andrew's not perfect. But we both are doing a lot to improve ourselves and become the best version of ourselves. And if you don't have that thing that you're pushing in, fitness is you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. A lot of them.
Yeah, and so I think before we wrap this up, what I would really like to touch on, because I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there, you're saying to yourself, I would love to work out. I would love to add that into my regimen, my routine, but I may be suffering from an injury of some kind, or I feel like I haven't worked out for so long. Like, how am I going to get started? And it's not always easy. You jump, it's actually not easy at all to get started with anything typically, but you may experience something where you go 4 days and then you get hurt and then you got to take 2 weeks off, and then you go 3 days and that same injury, it gets you. So it's not always easy, especially if you're suffering from an illness or an injury of some kind. And I'm not a doctor, but what I would say is there are certain things that we have both experienced through our process of overcoming injury that we can give you as pointers, that have helped us along our journey. Because injuries suck, man. Injuries suck. And think about it. If I have made a if I've dedicated myself to going to the gym every single day, and that's part of my persona now, that's part of my identity, and now I can't go for 2 weeks because I just pulled something, or my shoulder's messed up so I cannot do any overhead exercises, or whatever the case is, right? You know, it really hurts your ego in a sense, and it kind of throws you off your game. So, you know, what has been your experience with overcoming that and getting yourself back to where you can be more, you know, regimented about your implementation?
I think part of it is realizing that injuries will happen. It will happen. More will happen to some people than others. I've had 4 surgeries, right? So I've had 2 knee surgeries from being a runner in college. Then last year, I tore my right peroneal tendon, my right ankle, and had surgery on that in February. Then I tore my left Achilles in October, and I had surgery in October. So I had 2 serious leg injuries. I was on crutches like all the year. And if you saw me now, go to my Instagram, Forrest the Investor, you'll see I'm still spinning on my hands and stuff like that, right? You wouldn't really know. But at the time, it seemed so devastating. At the time, especially when I tore my Achilles, I was like, man, like I don't know if I can dance anymore. Because as human beings, we live so much in the moment. I was actually talking to my sports therapist not a therapist, like the physical therapist, as a quick aside. And she was like, when you feel better, you're not even going to remember this pain.
Wow.
Because that's just how humans are built. It's like, and I was like, oh, now I'm back to dancing. I'm like, oh, I really can't remember exactly how painful it was. I just remember that it sucked. So you kind of have to know that and just know that injuries will happen and they're just going to be terrible. But when you realize that that is part of the journey, and I've gotten through 4 at this time, I'm stronger, faster, more flexible than I've ever been. After those surgeries, I'm strong. Both my legs are stronger than they were before the surgery.
Wow.
After months
That's
of
huge.
recovery, and part of what an injury will allow you to, and I hope that you learn this through my words instead of experiencing it, is you learn how better injury prevention, and I do much more mobility exercises and things like that to take stress off of my auxiliary muscle groups. But part of I certainly felt that lack of identity, especially when I was in college, and had my second knee surgery because I was a runner. Like being a runner was the thing I did. So every moment I wasn't running, I was like, man, what am I doing with myself? Like I'm a runner and I'm a winner. Like I was good. Like the expectation for me as a runner was very, very high. I wasn't just on the track team. I was expected to win.
Yeah.
And so when I was going through that, it was my first big bout with like depression, and like I would have anxiety attacks. I actually talked to a sports psychologist at that time because I'd get anxiety attacks that were so bad I would like freeze up on the track. It was this whole big thing.
Wow.
But got through all of that, with time and effort. Sitting down with the sports psychologist, something I had no idea how it was going to go, and just learning, breathing exercises and things like that. And I had to kind of work through the change in my identity of being someone who never lost in high school, was undefeated, to being this person who now had pain when he ran and was competing against people on a much higher level. And it was just scary. I was scared to do the thing that I was like supposed to be really good at, right? And I think that translates into everything. It's like, man, now I'm hurt, so now I'm scared. I have a shoulder injury. I'm scared to bench press, even though I love benching. I'm scared to do it because last time I did it, I got hurt. And I think you just learn to, do better injury prevention. You'll push through it. You'll learn that you can push through these injuries. You'll push through the limitations, right? Even though you got hurt last time, doesn't mean you'll get hurt next time. And you can even, bench more. You figure all these things out, like, through the process, and it is my own hope now. My goal is to, knock on wood, not have another surgery. That's my current goal, so I do a ton. Like, I stretch every day as much as I can. I have a slant board to stretch my ankles. There's all these little things that I do that take, like, minutes out of the day. Like, even my slant board. A slant board, by the way, is literally just a box, a slant like this. And it allows you to do a really good stretch.
Oh, dude, that thing feels amazing.
It feels so good.
I stood on that the other day.
I do it every morning, and it just helps with, especially since I sit down all day working. Even though I'm very active, spend most of my day not being active.
Yeah.
Still, and just waking those up. So there's so much you can do with injuries to push through these, kind of states of depression, anxiety, fear that gets built up.
Dude. That's
You'll
huge.
get through it.
I want to touch on something that just I couldn't get out of my mind the entire time you were speaking.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the crossover between what you just discussed, your experience going through the physical pain, the physical ailment, the physical injury, and the mental, emotional distress that it put on you, and the relation to how that correlates to our emotional situation when you go through a breakup per se, or if you go through something dealing with relationships, a business partner has failed you or someone has hurt you, right? So I couldn't stop thinking about this the entire time you were speaking. And so I may go a little bit off topic here, but
you're good.
You know, let me cross the two together. So you've gotten into an injury, you've gotten hurt physically.
Yeah.
You just had a business partner fail you, walk away with money, something happened, or you just got out of a bad breakup. It's an injury. Both of them feel like you are going to die at the time.
The worst thing that ever happened.
It's so painful. You're going through the panic attacks that you just mentioned, the anxiety, you know, it's popping out of everywhere. You're living day to day in such a short period of time where like every second feels like an hour, and every hour feels like a day, and every day feels like a year. And, you know, you're going through this process of not being able to work out, or now you're alone, or now you don't have that business partner. Your trust has been broken. Your ligament has been broken. In both scenarios, you are now in a new position that you find yourself in where everything's been flipped out of order. Yeah. You're not going to the gym anymore. Now you're eating dinner by yourself, you know? So whatever the case is, the crossover, you are now in a new world. You are in like almost this new dimension of sorts. And you have to figure out how to become the best version of yourself in that very moment, using what you have at your ability. So now you're injured. So what do you have to do every day in order to get better? You got to do your physical therapy. You have to take things slow. You have to learn the breathing exercises. You have to learn how to be present with yourself and be okay with the fact that this has just happened, and have that vision that you know that you're going to get through this. Yeah. And then on this other side, you now have to, again, take the breathing exercises. You have to do those little things every day. Take the journaling. You have to be okay with being alone and being in a new area of your life, being independent, and having that vision that it's not always going to be this way. And like you mentioned a very important part that you had a conversation with your physical therapist about, which is that you don't even remember the pain down the road. Yeah. You know, when you get out of the situation, you are recovered from both scenarios. You don't even remember how painful it was. But in the moment, it's so bad. In the moment, it hurts so much, right? Yeah. And in the moment, like, your whole life is upside down. But then when you get through it, you're like, it wasn't even that bad, you know? But another point that came to my mind was you now have this, I feel like you step into new situations with that fear, uncertainty, or insecurity that you have to overcome. Just like you're like, I can't do what I used to do on bench anymore. I'm afraid to put the weights on because I think I'm going to get injured again. On the other side, it's I'm afraid to have this conversation with this new business partner. I'm afraid to get in bed with another person that might hurt me or that might do me wrong. I'm afraid. You take these insecurities and these fears into your next relationships. Right. And it's so important to do the work, to have somebody that can hold you accountable and to say, hey, you know, it's okay. We're going to do 2.5 pounds at a time, and we're just going to slowly push until we build up to that weight. Yeah. Or on this side, it's having those people around that are say, it's okay. Like, you're just going to go on a couple dates, or you're just going to meet with people, but you start learning how to prevent those injuries again. You start learning how to say, exactly. You know, now when I step into this relationship, I need to look for the red flags. Right. I need to do maybe a background search. You know, yeah. I need to like, you know, call my friend who's a cop and like literally run a background, like pay the money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or I've got to do these things that are going to make sure that I'm preventing myself from injury on this end. Just like I'm now going to stretch, and I'm going to use the little slant board to make sure that I prevent myself from being injured again. So the crossover between fitness and life is just so prevalent that it's unmistakable. You cannot miss it. You know, if you're looking for it, you'll find the crossover.
So yeah, I think it's almost I don't know if allegory is the word for life, but your fitness journey and the struggles of going through injuries and all that are exactly literally everything you just said, like what you'll experience in the rest of your life. But I think the difference is that you can use it to strengthen those other aspects, like having to go through that psychological battle due to my physical state. You know, I can always look back on that when I'm doing, when other trials come my way. It's like, oh, well, I was able to get through, you know, this hardship, these limits, then I can get through this hardship and this limit. And that's just one of the many ways. I mean, there's so many. I'm glad you went even deeper with it, because it really is that deep, guys. Yeah. Like it really is that deep. And I know we're talking about like why you should just be fit, but it's really not about, again, it's not about being the dude with the biggest arms or the girl with the biggest booty. It's about, maybe you are the girl with the biggest booty, but I know, unless you got a BBL, that you're in there, you're putting in the work, you're squatting, you're pushing, you're making the faces, like you're putting in the work. There's no shortcuts to it.
It's about overcoming.
It's about overcoming those limitations, and there's no shortcuts. There's no way around it. Just like, we're building our business and we know we're going to share the journey. Like, there's no easy way to build, $1 million Airbnb business. It's just not. It just takes hard work.
And you might run into injury or setback.
Yeah.
But setback is just a setup for a comeback.
Yeah.
And that's huge, And so one of the things, to touch on another one of your points, which is like remembering the pain. One of the things that I do, regardless if it's physical, regardless if it's personal, regardless if it's emotional, I actually have a journal, especially when I'm going through hard times, because, I get to work out every day now. I'm so blessed to be able to do that. But there was a time when I could not work out for almost 2 years. And I was in chiropractic work every other day. I was getting cortisone shots. Like,
I remember that, yeah.
It was crazy. And they all wanted me to get surgery. And I was like, I'm not going to get surgery and have my spine fused together. Like, that's crazy. What's going to happen after I do that? And I was doing all this research. I'm like, they want me to fuse 5 vertebrae together. Like, what the hell is going to happen, bro? It's going to be crazy. I'm not even going to be able to touch my knees, So I'm like, I'm not doing that. And so I started looking at alternative measures and how I could heal this pain and get through the sciatic nerve damage. And so I ended up finding yoga, and actually yoga with combining that with actually, weight training, weight lifting, and yoga is how I got myself out of it. But I can go back to my journal from that time period being like, I literally couldn't walk today. I couldn't put my underwear on, and I had to have my mother help me put my underwear and my socks on today.
That's a struggle.
I literally couldn't tie my shoe. And I look back at my journal and I can feel my pain through the words. Yeah. And recently, I even went through a situation, where I ended things with a person that I was dating. And I had to go through the journal, and I look back now and I'm like 10 times better than I was a month ago. I'm 20 times better than I was 2 months ago, because I look back and I read those words and I'm like, damn, I was really going through it.
Right.
And it's like when you can have that appreciation for where you've been and what you've overcome and the limitations that you've garnered your strength from, bro, it's like you have a whole different type of confidence. You have a whole different type of understanding about yourself and your ability to overcome limitations, so that if you're going through something today, if something disastrous happened today, you can look back on what you've been through and you can say, I got this. Like, I'm going to push through this because I've done it before.
And it almost seems, it's like you said, it almost seems like, oh, wow, that wasn't even that bad. Like, because at the time it was, but like when you look back, you're like, obviously I was going to get through that. It's like, obviously I was. Like, obviously I was going to recover.
The dots looking backwards, right?
It's like, of course, Achilles heel, Pro basketball players tear their Achilles all the time. But at the time I was like, oh my, I can't walk. I hated it. Like, I couldn't sleep well because my leg hurt at night. I needed help doing, like, you got to use crutches. So, like, you can't even hold stuff because you got to hold crutches.
I'm telling you,
your whole day is just fucked up. And I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, tore my Achilles, and 6 months recovery like they said it would be. And that's just
now
it.
You're straight.
Now I'm good.
Dude, but it's so big to, like, I'm a huge believer in journaling, especially if you're going through shit. Like, it's nice to be able to journal gratitude and stuff when, like, life is great. But a lot of people are going through shit, and I think that you should take the time. The way that I journal is, I do, like, this is what I'm going through. This is how fucked up it is. Like, this is how I feel, but I believe that this is going to happen. And then I transition it from a place of doubt, fear, uncertainty into faith. And it's like, but I believe that this is going to happen. Bro, I had an experience so crazy where I was reading this journal about what I was like, I was going through it at the time, but at the end of the journal, I said, but I believe that I'm going to start this business, and I believe that I'm going to have, X amount in my bank account. Bro, I had that exact amount in my bank account at the time that I reread this journal.
Nice.
And the business I have it now. And I'm like, dude, this is the importance of not only describing in detail what you're going through, but also believing in something to come, because you end up manifesting that as your reality by doing so.
Yeah, it's all powerful. I don't want to add to that other than say, I've experienced.
This could be a 2-hour podcast.
All the same things. Talking about manifesting, perception being reality. We talked about these on a lot of our podcasts, but those are the things we believe in general. So, this is longer than our first one, man.
I know.
We're killing it. Apparently, we really wanted to talk about fitness. This was a double header day, by the way. We really want to bring this Much knowledge to you guys. Again, if you haven't, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you found this powerful, share it with 2 of your friends. Let us know if you have questions, topics that you want us to talk about. We're here to help you become the best version of yourself, the number 1 version of yourself. But until next time, I'm Forrest. This is Andrew. And we'll see you later.